This is great for the kids because I slice the vegetables like noodles and fold them into the pasta. My baby back ribs with spicy peach barbecue sauce are a go-to crowd pleaser that I brush with a sticky sauce. Gotta have greens, and my baby lettuces with shallot vinaigrette can be tossed together in no time. And for dessert, my double chocolate red wine bundt cake. That's right, red wine. And trust me, you'll love it. It looks fancy, although not that hard to do. And you can make it in advance. I think what really makes this special is the red wine. There's red wine in the cake mixed with chocolate, which I think is really elegant and fun. It's perfect for a Sundae. And there's a red wine glaze. Wine can be used in so many different ways. It's not just a glass of wine. And for Julian and Jade, we had some fun cookies, which Jade will take any day over cake anyway. So we've added 2 cups of flour and half a cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. Then we're also going to add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. The baking powder will help make the cake rise and keep it nice and tender. So we're just going to add 1.5 teaspoons. And I like to do the dry ingredients first, kind of mix them all together, so that way you're ready to go once the wet ingredients are incorporated. And then we're also going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to whisk all of the dry ingredients together so they're really well incorporated. We can get started on the wet ingredients. So I have 2 sticks of room temperature butter. You want it to be nice and soft so that it mixes really well. And we're gonna add to it 1.5 cups of sugar. We're gonna sweeten this baby up. So now we're gonna cream these guys together. Start slowly so you don't cover yourself in sugar. Raise the speed a little bit more. Okay. So we're gonna start adding the eggs. And you wanna make sure that the eggs also are at room temperature. Again, when you're baking, it's really, really important that all of the ingredients are at room temperature. Otherwise, they don't blend well and you don't get a smooth consistency in the cake in the end, which is why it's so important. So now we're gonna mix the eggs in little by little. So now the butter and the sugar and the eggs are all well incorporated. We're gonna add some vanilla extract, about 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. It gives the cake that sweetness, that sort of luxurious sweetness that you just don't get from sugar. Mix that in. Okay, so now the red wine. 1 cup of red wine and the flour. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little bit of the flour, cocoa powder mixture at a time, because we can't add it all at once, because if you do, you sort of shock the batter. If you shock the batter, then you get a stiff cake, right? So we're gonna do a little bit at a time and allow the wet ingredients to slowly absorb the dry ingredients, so you get a nice light cake. And at the same time, we can start to add some of our red wine. So you can just use whatever kind of red wine you have at home that you like to drink. And then, once again, we add a little bit more of the dry ingredients. So we add the dry ingredients in 3 batches, and then we'll add the wine in 3 batches. A little more wine. And the last batch. And then the rest of the red wine. Slowly. Okay, so now that we're done, we're gonna add 1 cup of bittersweet chocolate chips. That's where the double chocolate comes in. And we're just gonna hand fold it. You can see how light the batter is. It's almost like frosting, it's so light. And we've got our batter. We're gonna grab our bundt pan, and I greased the bundt pan already. What I love about the bundt pan is it just makes it really pretty. When it comes out, it's got all the ridges. And then you just wanna place the batter inside the bundt pan. 350 degrees for 45 minutes. and I'm gonna make a glaze and pour it all over the top. 2/3 of a cup of powdered sugar. And to the powdered sugar, we're gonna add a little bit of red wine. So the same red wine I put inside the cake, I'm gonna use to make the glaze. So talk about a really fancy glaze. Okay, looks perfect. So now, I'm gonna get my cooled bundt cake, and look how pretty that looks. And then here goes the glaze. Look at that beautiful color. Oh yeah. So when the glaze sets, it'll look gorgeous. Time to start on a main course that will blow my family away. I thought rather than doing beef tenderloin or steak, that I would do ribs this time. So I made this slightly spicy peach barbecue sauce that was sticky, but it's a really fun sort of relishy, jammy thing to put on ribs. And I think I just wanted to show everybody how easy ribs are. And they're still kind of light. It's one of those things that can cook in the oven for hours, make your whole house smell good like a real Sunday should be. I think it's a really fun way to infuse a little bit of an American tradition into our Italian family dinners. We're gonna start the dry rub we're putting on top of the baby back ribs. So I've got some pork baby back ribs right here. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar for that nice molasses, sticky kind of sweet flavor on the ribs. And then we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. And I just love the smoked paprika. It's got a nice warmth to it. And I like the mixture of the smoky peppers with the brown sugar. I think it's a really nice mix. And then, of course, we're gonna do a bunch of salt. So it's sort of like a little dry rub to start flavoring the ribs. And I'm just gonna kind of pour it over the ribs. And that is it. We take tin foil and just kind of wrap them up. Okay, 300 degrees for 3.5 hours. Peach sauce. So we're just gonna start with an onion, garlic, and ginger to kind of warm it through and to give it a little spice. We'll do a little onion. There we go. So we're gonna put all of the onion into the pot with a little bit of olive oil and start cooking it a little bit. We're also gonna add 1 garlic clove, so we're not gonna make it too garlicky. Just a little bit of garlic goes a long way in here. So 1 garlic clove right in there. And then the ginger. It's pretty fibrous because it's a root, and what I like to do is cut the ends off, and we're gonna basically peel it, but I'm gonna use the knife to peel it. And we're gonna chop it up. So we'll add the ginger right in there. Add a little bit of salt and start cooking down the onion, the garlic, and the ginger. We're gonna add 1 10-ounce bag of peaches, and I just thawed the peaches. So we're gonna add 3/4 of a cup of apple cider vinegar. The tanginess of the apple cider vinegar works really well with the peaches. Now, we gotta sweeten this baby up. So we're gonna add 1/2 cup of brown sugar. The molasses in the brown sugar makes it sticky, and it also gives it more than just straight sweetness, but like a warm sweetness. And here we go with the spice. So we have a warm spice from the ginger, and now we got the kick of real heat. So we're gonna do 1/2 teaspoon of the Calabrian chili. Make this barbecue sauce a little more Italian with a little bit of Calabrian chili. So what we wanna do now is just mix all the ingredients together, and we're gonna let this cook for 30 minutes until it's blended all together, and then we're gonna puree it.